I just want to line up an entire choir and shoot them with paintballs. Let me explain. 4 months ago, I stumbled upon this crazy Russian cartoon where he lines up his guns in a row and plays the triggers like a piano to wipe out his enemies. And I thought, what if I use my piano destroying skills and recreate this in real life? Wait, but how is this an instrument? I think I have a plan. What if every piano key is connected to its own paintball marker, precisely aimed at a person in the choir? And when they get hit, they will sing the note for that key, which means I can literally play the choir. But this is just a weird dream. There's no way we would actually do this. Right? I ran out to my garage to do a test if this will even work. And check this, here's the cross-section of a piano mechanism. A design refined for hundreds of years for optimal performance. But we don't need any of this, because we're making an American piano today. But this American piano was way trickier to make than I first thought. Because how do we even pull the trigger with a piano key? I first tried to tie them together with a guitar string, and it did make it fire. Now we just set this up. Ah, fuck! Without me even pressing the piano key. What did I think? If it goes up, it will turn it. In my second attempt, I cut the brakes from my brother's bike, and in that way there would be one less mouth to feed for my family. But also, it will solve the accidental triggering issue, since this brake cable can move without jerking the trigger like before when aiming. And it worked like magic. It was a bit hard to press the key though, because it added a lot of friction. Why is it not pulling the trigger? Like maybe 50 times harder than a standard piano? But it will be fine. Next problem is we needed a mount that let us aim and then lock that aim in place. And you have already seen my design. It was really interesting. And by interesting, I mean you never really knew where it would shoot next. So I decided to use my backup plan. Call an American.
Use the taper of the barrel to maybe some fine adjustment screws to like...
In 2 hours, John designed something 100 times better than what took me 2 days. It was almost like he did this kind of stuff for a living. People walking by here, they see this, they think I'm a loser. But when they see the final video, they will know for sure. Now when we got the design down for one key, it's time to start scaling. I calculated that I should be able to fit around 21 paintball guns in my piano. I also calculated that buying them would be insanely expensive. And for days, I wasn't sure what to do. Until I saw this. You see, Swedish people have started shooting each other with real guns lately, so I thought there might be some paintball ranges nearby wanting to offload some of their gear. And I was right. Only 10 miles away, a range had just shut down and the owner agreed to sell me everything he had for $4,000. You think it's enough?
1, 2, 3.
And for the next step, I wanted to see if I could shoot a melody using a third of my haul. Oops. Whoa! It's so loud! They are not used to getting shot, xylophone bars.
12,
Whoa!
13,
No!
14,
I broke
15,
the
16,
xylophone bar. And after 10 minutes of aiming...
30, 31, 32, 33.
I played a very questionable melody, but it kind of worked. I wonder how bad this hurts. Ah! Oh, no! Okay, that hurts. But this pain goes away. Emotional pain can really stick around, and that's why this video is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. 1 year ago, I struggled a lot with overreaching. Like, I worked so hard on stuff that I always ended the days feeling really anxious and burned out. But after talking to a therapist, I realized that I don't have to drive myself into the ground to feel accomplished. So I started taking more breaks and setting a clear time to stop working each day. And that made a huge difference in my work-life balance. And BetterHelp makes it easy to connect to a credentialed therapist who understands your needs. You just fill out this questionnaire and they will match you with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. And if you don't vibe with your therapist, you can easily switch them out to another one. And something I really like is that if you're too busy for a video call, you can just text your therapist instead. And that really lowers the friction of reaching out when you need to talk to someone. So if you're struggling and think you would benefit from a therapy session, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/Mattias and get you 10% off your first month of therapy. At this point, I realized that I must have measured completely wrong. There's no way I could fit all of these in my piano, so I either use less of them or I build a new piano from scratch. I got help from my designer Shervin, who created this amazing concept inspired by a military ammunition box. And I was so hyped about it, I almost forgot I know nothing about woodworking, and I'm the one who's going to build this. But after a lot of YouTube tutorials and a lot of external motivation, I started to get the hang of it. There's a special feeling with having 21 guns aimed at you. It feels like a cartoon almost. This went way better than I thought, and after some finishing touches, it was time for the reveal. Let's do the first test on these special targets that are each tuned to a musical note. Let's just see if this works first. Okay, and once we got the aim down, we will be able to play some music with this. Okay, see if that one hits it again, then we're on. The first shot was good, but maybe that was luck. This is not starting very well. So we move the targets a football field closer. Okay, that's good. Now we play a scale. The problem is the accuracy. But after hours of just tuning the aim, let me show you what would happen if Mozart were born in America. It was way better, and I couldn't wait to try it on real people to finally hear what it sounds like. So I didn't wait. Cameraman, let's have a war. There it was, the real music. Now let's get those 21 people. So I spent the entire next day reaching out to choirs in Sweden. But let's just say they were not nearly as excited about the idea as I was. So I wasn't sure how to continue. Until I remembered my friend Jonas is a teacher for music students. What if he asked if they want to stand in front of my piano? And I was so shocked to hear that 21 of them said yes. But before I take the piano there, I wanted to do one little upgrade to surprise them. You see, the bicycle brake solution kinda sucked. It was really hard to do stuff like this on the piano. Something I always wanted to try on this is just do a big swipe on all the keys. It's too heavy to press them down. But with the help of my mechatronic engineer Goran, the piano became 10 times more fun to play. Drag the keys. And 100 times worse to be in front of. So Jonas is going to be the calibration chicken now. Fuck off! But he doesn't know that I already done the calibration. He doesn't actually have to do this. So it's funny that he thinks he needs to do it. Let's go! Woo!
This is a lot scarier standing in front of than I thought it was going to be.
More to the right. Okay, that's good. Oh, that's perfect.
That was ow.
Go to the left. And write a 10 on it. So now when we had everyone's position, again, we were ready because tomorrow's
game time.
Ah, what a wonderful day to shoot some kids.
Hjärnskada.
And everyone was excited to have fun. Until I brought out the liability waivers. Som ni gärna får signera innan ni är med på videon.
Ja, det är så illa.
Jag avsäger mig rätten att typ stämma organisatören i samband.
I never said it would be fun. The suffering is the music. For the first experiment, we ordered everyone by height. And the idea is that the pitch will increase naturally as we go down in length. So let's try it. Okay, redo? Not convincing. Come on. That one doesn't work. Oh, sorry. That was the wrong one. Hey. My first impression was that I already love this piano, and I haven't heard a single proper note yet. I will try going up the scale, and we can see, maybe you can moan or something, I don't know. Does it hurt? Rush E. Vem är på E? Okej, är det någon som spelar piano? Okej. Hey, you're saved. Wow. Look at this. This is amazing. Do you know any songs only on white keys or something? Oh, sorry, I forgot. I forgot.
It's much more fun on this side.
We need to practice.
Yeah. Something beautiful. So
Yeah.
somewhere over the rainbow.
This is what he played. And this is what it actually sounded like.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I couldn't really hear the song. Okay, I feel like we kind of try this concept now, and the pitch is kind of increasing, but not really. Let's compare our lowest notes versus our highest. But one thing we learned is that pain is really effective to get sound out of people. So now we just need to tune them. Each person is now wearing headphones and hearing their own reference note. So this is what this person hears, this. And when they get hit, they will just try to match their dedicated note. And with this, I think we are going to be way closer to making something musical. And after a little bit of practice, time for stage 2. Let's try a chord.
That's too funny. Okay, that's way too.
This actually kind of worked. Like if I listened really hard, like really hard, I could pick up on something reminiscent of a melody. Like when I played this, I got this. But that's about it. The other 99% of the time, it kind of just sounded like this. wish I could sit here for hours testing and maybe I would be able to play something decent. But my target friends were wishing for the exact opposite.
Jag fick den i facet.
What?
No.
My people they are giving up on me. It's too painful, so we need to act fast now, I think. Because if any more people leave now, we're not enough to complete the final experiment. And if we don't manage to make any music before everyone leaves, they would just think I'm some kind of crazy.
I love it. Good.
Whoa! One more. No. I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm actually a very considerate person. So for the bonus stage, everyone will be behind the keyboard and I will be in front so they can finally get their revenge. Oh, and also Jonas, because he was the one sacrificing them.
Okay.
Didn't even hurt. Thank you to Ulins Gymnasiet for letting us borrow their equipment.
Thanks.
So my sister asked me to play this game with her. I don't play Roblox, and I've never.
This is the best piece of redstone I've ever designed, and it can make the player go really fast, really freaking fast, okay? For reference, this is 5,500 blocks in 1 second, which is about Mach 16. Now, for reference, the fastest plane in a real life ever made is the NASA X-43, which reached Mach 9.6, just under Mach 10. Mach 1 is the speed of sound, which is already very fast. Now, this is accelerating you from 0, and with 3 charges, which I'll explain the charge system in a second, to Mach 16 in a matter of half a second, which would break you. It would pulverize you if this was real life. You would become goo. You would be a human pancake. Yeah, so anyways, this machine is very powerful, and it is also quite stressing, because the way that this works is, well, I'll explain the redstone in a bit, and the redstone is very complex and uses wind charges and stuff, but let me just explain the UI here, the setup. So basically what I like to do is I like to, make sure I sleep in the bed, make sure my respawn point is set, because whenever I'm flying over there, I just do /kill to get back to here. Now, back here, you'll want to hit this button to start charging. I'm not going to do it quite yet, because if I bring it into my visual field of view, it will crash my game, and it will crash yours too. So don't do it. In case something goes wrong, you can do /kill @e type equals Minecraft Breeze wind charge, and it will clear all of the currently stuck ones or whatever from the area, and that's all fine and dandy. Now, you can hit this wind charge thing, and it will trigger these sides, and it will trigger all of these units and start generating wind charges. So let's just do that right here, And you see it also lights up that. So I'm going to go down here. Whenever it does that, it also sends a pulse down to this dropper. And it puts more and more into the topper with the comparator. And eventually, you get this, which I think this amount of charges is enough, theoretically speaking, to get ones to the Farlands. With the appropriate angling and difficulty with math and stuff. Now, I haven't been able to actually achieve that. And I'll explain why I need help with that later. But let's just wait for a second. Speed this up. Now that we hear breezes hitting their wind charges against blocks, we know that in a second we'll hear note blocks, which will indicate that the wind charges are going into place. Give it a second. You can barely hear the dispensers there. There's the note blocks. The dispensers are for the water. And now that they're in place, we can hit this and get the machine primed. Now, the more wind charges you have, the longer this process will take, because the slower the tick speed will be, because the game will eventually start being overloaded. The rendering engine was not meant to handle this many wind charges. So make sure not to look too far down and under there, because it will render the wind charges and you'll crash. But you always do that once by accident. And then boom. And then you're off. You just have to jump in and activate your elytra. And see, I've already gained 12,000 X, but I'm also at 6,000, 7,000 Y, 1,300 X, 1,400 X, about 1,400 X and 8,000 Y. No, 14,000 X, 8,000 Y. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. And if you glide at a good angle like this, you can get about 10 blocks of X direction for every block down in the Y direction. So by the time I get to Y equals 0, I'll be another 80,000 plus 14,000. So 94,000. And that's on one charge. I only did one charge there for the sake of time. As far as I can tell, it's a linear. So if you get double the wind charges, you get double the distance. If you get quadruple the wind charges, you get quadruple the distance. Assuming that all their factors are the same. Your angle, the way you're positioned next to the wind charges, etc. But in general, it's a linear formula, which is really helpful for the sake of the math. So let's say I went to 84,000 blocks here. Unfortunately, that would mean I need 10, 100 times, 150 times more than that, ish, to get to the Farlands. And that's my goal, but I'll talk about that in a second. Let me just do /kill and return. Now, this machine is very sensitive, and eventually it gets to the point where you cannot charge anymore. This is the amount that I've calculated, the amount of charges, one shovel for every charge, that I predict would be able to get you to the Farlands. Now, I have not been able to test this and confirm, because I go anything beyond 4 or 5 charges and the game starts to lag so much it doesn't actually get the wind charges to where they're supposed to be right here, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't crash the game, but it can't, the tick speed is so slow it can't deal with it. Now, you can individually tune how much wind charges there are per charge, but these modules here, this actually whole back section, is designed by another small YouTuber who I will put their video in the description, and they have the world download and stuff if you want just this section of the wind charge generation. Basically what it does is it makes these breezes, you have to capture breezes in minecarts. It's a pain in the butt, I imagine, to put it in survival, but you have to, they shoot their little charges. These are little design changes by me to make it a little bit more reliable, but they go into powdered snow and then get locked and become static thanks to the way that these pistons are triggered, and it moves them across and then up into here. And eventually, once all of these are done, you'll get 64 wind charges per unit here. So 64, 128, 256, and another 128, which I'm not going to do the math of that in my head. And then eventually this dispenser is triggered for just a second, and it lets them slide very slowly across until eventually they hit those, and they get pushed down to here by that piston, and then once you hit the button, the note block with the redstone torch, it'll push them out into the middle, and then this slime block flying machine will push with this wall, push them all into here, and then whenever you go from the top and hit that piece of string there with the observer, it will activate this slime block and make them land kind of there. You can see that slab there. It's a little, actually, I've got free cam. There's a stair here, and it'll launch them into the stair, and it'll be at pretty much the perfect angle for these to hit you. It hits you slightly up. You could get rid of this block and replace it with another sign if you want to mess around with the angles a bit, but this is what I found generally works best for distance. Now, I've done a lot of testing with this, and I can't confirm whether this is the best way of doing it, but I think it is. And this is a heck of a machine to build ever. But I think with all of the ways that this is done, theoretically, if you had a strong enough computer, you could have an infinite range with this. Now, there are other machines that do this a lot differently and more efficient. Just look at DocM77 with his big minecart rail cannon thing that he uses in EchoCraft Season 10. This isn't anything like that. This is not easy, but a little bit simpler to build in survival than something like that. You're not relying on crazy redstone wizardry. This is basically just pure grit and having to gather the materials, but the rest of the actual construction is pretty simple and not super... You don't have to be a genius to build it. You can just get the materials and build it and understand how it works. Now, the problem with this is that the farthest I've ever been able to get is about 500,000 blocks. That's the farthest I've been able to go, and that's with gliding. That's with going up at a certain angle and optimizing the math that you do to get there. The problem is that's not far enough. My goal for this machine is to get me to the Farlands. I'm going to be using a mod to get rid of the bug fix that gets rid of the Farlands, and I want to go visit in a modern server. Now, that will require going 12.5 million blocks, and this is not capable of this. I know there are other machines that could get me there in a short amount of time. I know I could go in the Nether. I'm not going to be going via the Nether because I want this to be part of my base. I want a giant rail... Imagine a Mac cannon from Halo. I want this giant rail cannon to be at the top of a mountain somewhere at my future base in EchoCraft Season 6, and I want to be able to use this to just poof, all the way to the Farlands in one shot. 2 shots, maybe. Maybe if we can get halfway there, and then I build a second rail cannon in the middle at like 6.25 million blocks. That could be reasonable as well, but I need your guys' help. Take this design, experiment with it yourself. This is an incredible piece of machinery already, and it's really capable of getting you out far distances in case you want to have a base that's really far away, or maybe you just want to go exploring in completely unloaded chunks. Definitely, for sure. It's really good for something like that in a singular direction, but I know this can be pushed further, and I know there's people who are smarter at redstone than me. So please, if you think you can optimize this and make it better and make it more efficient, allow it to propel someone further, please feel free. I'm going to be leaving a schematic and a world download in the description. Please help me out with this, and if you enjoyed, if this is something that you find interesting, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. This is a bit of a one-off video, but I needed to share this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!
Over the last 4,000 days in this world, I've built 3 towns thousands of blocks apart from each other, crammed with factories, production lines and transportation, all connected by train lines. And we're very close to moving on to our next big project, which is all going to revolve around food and air travel. But before we can do that, we do do still have a few bits we need to finish around here, as I still need to add transportation lines from this side of the dock and have them drop off somewhere over there. And of course, I'm going to need to create somewhere for all the food from the next district to actually get delivered to. That being said, we're not going to do any of that today. For today, we go to the ocean, as I figured it's about time we made a guardian farm so I can get my grubby little mitts on some prismarine, and more importantly for the next phase, sea lanterns. And apologies if I sound a little bit weird today, I'm just recovering from a cold after a week off. Why does that always happen? You have a week on holiday and then when you get back you get ill. But anyway, we need to prep for today, so if we're going to be making a guardian farm, there's a few things I do know about the mechanics of guardian farms thanks to this amazing farm by ENX04, but we're not going to be building that farm today. We've got create, so we're going to get creative with it. And I'm hoping what we can do is have some kind of an oil rig or something out there, and then we'll have a tanker that comes in and drops everything off and goes back and so on, and it should all be wonderful and lovely, if I can get it to work. But the first step for today is going to be to find an ocean monument to use. And if I recall correctly from our previous exploration missions, I'm fairly sure there's actually one pretty much directly south. But I don't think this is the one I was looking for, as we appear to be struggling to load some new chunks here. But this is an ocean monument, it has a boat stuck in the side of it, but this should do the trick.